Hey there, my name is Simmons Bunton. Welcome. I'm the editor-in-chief of terrain.org. And I am coming to you here from, let me admit some more folks. I am coming to you this evening from Tucson, Arizona, where I respectfully acknowledge my presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of the O'odham and the Pascua Yaqui, as well as the beautiful saguaro and creosote populated valleys and hills and arroyos nestled between the Santa Catalina, Rincon, Santa Rita, Tortolita, and Tucson Mountains. Welcome to terrain.org's Earth Day and National Poetry Month reading. I want to thank our host this evening, Derek Sheffield, our poetry editor, our readers, Pattiann Rogers, Andrew C. Gottlieb, and Kamella Cruz. By the way, they will read in the reverse order. So Kamella will read first, and then Andy, and then Pattiann. And I want to thank you, our audience, for joining us this evening. I'm so excited to have you here. Hey, if your connection becomes slow, you may want to turn off your video. In all cases, please remain muted. And I'm sure at the end, when we have some Q&A, we'll unmute folks and you can ask questions to your heart's desire. We are, as you've noticed, recording this and all readings and conversations, and we'll make those available from terrain.org and our YouTube channel, probably within a week or so. We'd love it if you would officially follow or subscribe to our YouTube channel too, which is at youtube.com/c/terrain.org. That sounds hard to put in there. So let me just copy this link, put it in chat, and you can get it from there. Okay, so yeah, but don't leave us to go follow us now. Wait till after. Okay, this is our second online reading of 2023. We're going to host an in-person reading in Portland, Oregon on July 9th at 7:30 p.m. at the Architectural Heritage Center in conjunction with the ASLE AESS conference, and probably in Tucson and very possibly other locations throughout this and next year as we celebrate a year full of our 25th anniversary, which is no small endeavor for an all-volunteer online organization, as perhaps you can imagine. Further details will be available on terrain.org as well as our Facebook page and announced via our e-newsletter, which you should also subscribe to if you aren't yet subscribed. And I'm going to put that link also in chat. So I'm just going to fill you up with the chat links as we do our little introductions here. Now, a few announcements, in other words, about terrain.org, the world's first and longest publishing online journal of place. Okay, first, our general submission period for poetry, fiction, and nonfiction has now closed. We closed it a week early, sorry, but we'll reopen again on October 1st. We're allowing our editors to catch up and to breathe a little bit, which is kind of nice. But our contest submission period opens very soon on May 1st with a deadline of September 4th, which is Labor Day here in the US. Our contest this year is judged by Ross Gay for poetry, Tony Jensen for nonfiction, and Talia Lakshmi Kalluri for fiction. Some wonderful judges there, really excited about their vision for what the contest will be, but most excited to see your submissions. $20 entry for a $1,000 grand prize in each genre, plus $200 to finalists, and all entries are considered for publication. And also very exciting, the reading period for the second annual Sowell Emerging Writers Prize with a prize of $1,000 in publication by Texas Tech University Press for a full book of poetry is September 15th through November 15th. That's a $25 entry fee. We did nonfiction last year. We're doing poetry this year. Next year, we'll do fiction, and then we'll roll it around again. So if you're curious about where all that information is for submitting to terrain.org, you can find it at terrain.org/submit, which I just put in our chat. Finally, friends, and some of you may have read this earlier this week, let me get straight to the point. I love you. Also, this is a fundraising message on behalf of Terrain Publishing, the nonprofit organization that publishes terrain.org. My love and this spring fundraiser are related. Before I get to that, please take a moment to consider donating $5 or $50 or $500 or more to support the world's longest publishing online literary journal of place. Let me just throw that in there and let me admit a few more folks. Your donation will go directly to paying terrain.org contributors as well as readers for our online reading series. Something new for this year for our award-winning journal on place, climate, and justice that is celebrating 25 years of publishing. And it's also something we can do only because of donations from generous folks like you. That's why, well, it's only one of the reasons that I love you, because you are a part of the vibrant, supportive community of terrain.org. Are you aware that terrain.org contains no advertising to interfere with your reading, viewing, or listening experience? Although I guess this is an advertisement, so you'll have to forgive that. Are you aware that we do not charge to access the amazing content we publish 3 to 5 times per week? Are you also aware that all 21 of our editors and every member of our international editorial board member is a volunteer? How do we do it? Quite simply, love. The editors and editorial board members love the work we publish, the magazine itself, the community we built over the last quarter century. Imagine that, a quarter century of dedication, passion, volunteerism, and essential award-winning literature, editorials, artwork, and community case studies. That deserves some of your love, don't you think? So let me just put this in here again, just for your consideration. Thank you. And of course, we are able to continue to publish terrain.org, not just because of our own love, as mighty and beautiful as that is, but because of your donation. Terrain.org is an independent publication. We are not affiliated with a university, foundation, endowment, or other source of regular income. We rely on your support to keep publishing, to keep our online reading series going, to, quite frankly, make a real difference in the world. So please join us in making a difference today. Thank you for your consideration and your community. Now, let us turn to tonight's reading, which will be followed by a Q&A. So feel free to post your questions in the chat or save them for after, and I will help facilitate any questions in the chat as we get going with that. So I'll also be posting terrain.org and book links in the chat in support of our readers this evening. But if you missed those or want to find other books by terrain.org contributors, hop on over to our bookshop page at bookshop.org/shop/terrain.org, or find that link under About in the terrain.org website navigation menu. Also, be sure to post your thoughts and questions here in the chat, as I mentioned just a bit ago, as we look forward to an engaging conversation following the readings. And finally, a reminder, please, to keep yourself muted. And thanks again for joining us. So now, finally, it is my pleasure to introduce terrain.org poetry editor and my brother in arms, Derek Sheffield. Derek Sheffield's collection, Not for Luck, was selected by Mark Doty for the Wheelbarrow Books Poetry Prize. His other books include Through the Second Skin, which was a finalist for the Washington State Book Award, and A Revised Account of the West, selected by Deborah Marquardt for the Hazel Lipa Environmental Chapbook Award. He is a co-editor of 2 collections, Dear America, Letters of Hope, Habitat, Defiance, and Democracy, and Cascadia Field Guide, Art, Ecology, Poetry. His poems have appeared in many literary magazines, including the Southern Review, Poetry, the Georgia Review, Orion, the Gettysburg Review, Northwest Review, and Agnew. He has been awarded fellowships from the Spring Creek Project, the Sustainable Arts Foundation, Artist Trust, Allied Arts for Culture, and the Bernheim Arboretum and Research Forest. Other honors include the James Hurst Poetry Prize, judged by Lee Young Lee, a finalist selection for the 2018 Linda Hull Memorial Poetry Prize, judged, and a special mention in the 2016 Pushcart Anthology. If you see me looking away, it's because I'm admitting folks still coming into our reading this evening. Finally, Derek lives with his family in Eastern. What?
No more bio. That's
no more bio.
That's enough about D.
Okay, let me just finish by saying Derek does this thing called forest bathing. I don't really know what that is. It sounds kind of fun. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, Derek, I'm gonna turn it over to you. So thank you all again for joining us. Yes, I've been talking too long. Derek, my sunny mouth friend, take it away.
Hey, brother, thank you. Forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku. It was Hannah Friese's book called Forest Bathing Retreat that really turned me on to that practice. And if you're ever interested in bathing in some evergreen with me, just drop me a note and we can do it. I don't know about you, but I just heard from Simmons that you can buy his love. And I have to say, as a recipient of that love, I recommend it. I think it's worth every dollar. You should also buy his love. Um, and according to Cynthia Neely, apparently, poet, famed Pacific Northwest poet Cynthia Neely, terrain.org is the best journal ever. We need to grab that quote off the chat, and we need to start a praise page of these things, is what I'm thinking. But what I want to do right now is tell you about Kamella Cruz, who, you saw her bio when you signed up for this, and it's online and you can read it when you read her poems too. I mean, I can tell you that she's pursuing an MFA at IAIA in Santa Fe right now. I can tell you, but what I really want to tell you is how excited and joyful and grateful Simmons and Annie and I were when Kamella's poems came through the submission folder. They just blew through us like a beautiful wind. They're so special. And after you're going to hear some very soon, but then I do want you to go and see them on the page at terrain.org, because they really hold up under multiple readings and hearings. We fell in love with them so deeply that when it came time for just the few nominations for the Pushcart Prize, we nominated one of her poems. She is, I know that her identity as a mother is really important to her. The birth of each of her 3 children has sparked distinct writing styles and influenced her themes of maternity, femininity, generational power, and womanhood. She writes for her Tewa people and the grandmothers before her. Please join me in welcoming tonight Kamella Cruz.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Simmons. Thank you, everyone who's tuning in. Sengit Samu, good evening. I am joining you from northern New Mexico in Okewinge, which is my ancestral lands, which is where I'm raising my family. I have my poetry sectioned off into 3 sections this evening. The first is the storyteller, the second, the lover, and the third, the mother. 1. Avanyo. Thunder with me. Imagine ourselves a wrathful wind on red rocks, molding echo basins, raising fossilized seashells to scatter down the pecos. Abalone breadcrumbs for our grandmother's map. Our Satya and Tete thundered too. They painted sleet straight lines of rain, climbed from blue lakes so we could coil soil. Do not fear the thunder inside me. Your mother and his mother and my mother kindle pewter siltstone to stack in my belly. A storm nest for the river serpent to bask. I listen to the Avanyu's lightning tongue, as quick as whistles in woods. I wield his words, while straddling his scaled back as the old ones did. Old rhythms. When Tewa men were away, the women would go to war, defending planted grains, seeded wombs, hiding doulas and legends in underground storerooms, repositories of birth, elk bone brine, and this story. A bow slept in the man's place, taught, practiced, shined by juniper sap, itching to quiver like a man for his wife. Spinach root, smeared by skilled fingers under the eyes, ear to ear. A dark carnal line. Left cheekbone, adolescence. Over the nose, motherhood. Across towards death. War songs hummed in the night. Daughters clung to their brothers, adopting their mothers' names. Women's mature black pottery, every prayer on. The planting belonged to the war women. Songs calling squash and earth under delicate feet. Rematriation is an old rhythm, sung by men who knew land and children need to nurse. Rematriation, the act of returning to matriarchal ways, the mother foods. She came home in yucca centennial stalks, straddling the borders of 4 desert states, sulking from drought, stretched on her tiptoes, asking the sun to scorch less. She came home in river shells her granddaughter holds up to ears, eyes closed, searching for a voice drifted away with monsoons. She came home in the paper my degree is printed on. Flat, hundreds of trees deadened to provide a place for my name. She came home in whispering corn tassels, silk sewn through blue corn, pearl kernels, yellow corn, purple kernels, sagging under an eager harvest moon, and the moon loves her in all her reincarnations. She came home to nourish unplanted gardens, unsown fields. She came home without knowing she was gone. Rematriation, maternal knowledge, our mother's milk, kissing kernels in hunger, fishing out silks stuck between teeth. Section 2, The Lover. Star Tears, an origin story. She bargained bees to whisper pollination secrets to her. She begged blue beetles to ask their ladybugs to lend her tricks. She pled with fireflies. They pitied her, telling her softly, "You must make the stars cry." At night, the 2 lovers would steal away to secret springs. Her mate cradled her in the water, back flat, breasts breaking ripple canvases for the moon. Tears fled into her hair, into the lithia. Stars gazed down onto themselves, witnessing surrender in the steam. The mates began lassoing constellations into buckets. They came willingly, plucked into their arms, vulnerable to their task. The stars shed their shine in great exhales, then were set free, tossed back up into the sky. Wringing hands of their wet, the 2 milked star tears nightly. It was nectar, created by their labor and born from wandering stars. The mates rinsed her eyelashes, praying for clear vision. They washed her fingertips. Secret pools swirled the sticky sweetness around their nakedness. 3 years of nights like these, before her thighs could write. Endless stewing of star tears to soak a child into her bones. Floating in her women waters, and her in the lithia, and the lithia in the star tears, and the star tears in luck. She begged the moon to bounce off of her belly. The moon cried for them too, because a child costs far more than that. This 3rd section is The Mother. This beginning poem is dedicated to all of the expectant mothers out there, like myself. I am expecting my fourth child in September. During the pandemic, myself, my village, a lot of Indigenous communities lost a lot of elders and loved ones during the pandemic. And it's really interesting that there's a lot of us expecting mothers around the same time. And we're kind of in this together in creating a new generation for our people. So this is for them. We are expecting. Look, purple galaxies dangling from umbilical cords. Ripening pumpkins, Indian melons banded by green, side by side. Sisters in synchronicity. Our village is repopulating. As runoffs melted rivers, our ovaries woke. Pandemic permafrost, hardened red clay, veins, alfalfa seeds, bird beaks, reproductive organs. Acequia now thawing, ditches burning clean. Ladies lead the waters into fermented fields, germinating cells for sprouting babies. Side by side, sisters in synchronicity. We carry daughters and namesakes to fertilize farmlands after we're gone. Sunflowers entwine birth vines and ash lines. Come fall, the laden harvest will welcome midwives, farmers, fathers, grievers. Sandia-stained fingers will cradle newborns. Old names with new meanings. Sisters in reproductivity. This next piece is featured on terrain.org. This is the piece that I'm very pleased to say was nominated for the pushcart, so thank you. I'm particularly proud of this, and it's dedicated to my oldest son. He who lit the antlers ablaze. Hooves against my navel. Did you hear the urgency to awaken our bond? I grew within a womb that cared not carry me. Breasts before brawn or sense, assent to bugling bull. I grew, matured but not nurtured, hunted out of turn. Then I skinned the hide from your father forcefully, a stag's heart tumbling. My fawn lit the antlers ablaze, filtering down from the east by hundreds, set in the morning light this sight of sheds dancing. I saw my son amongst the herd while just a quickening. This final poem, this will end my reading this evening. Short leather. I surrendered to the dirt floor, drawing on grandmother's tactile techniques, time to tie 2 pairs of moccasins. Accustomed to a woman's full-length, mature buckskin wraps, I expected to share the ground longer. But their feet were so tiny. Stuffed cotton in the toe of my son's yellow haye maca shoes, summer clan from his father, his tete, the sun, me, 3 knots and done. My daughter danced out of her shoes. Once, twice, 3, I sat on her. Guio'e, a little woman, she giggled, taking her brother's hand. You are my partner. Iya has given you to me and you are mine. Vamos, andale, alligator. She stepped out, taking my son to pray, leaving me, a barefoot floor, the mother, the sacred support for them to walk upon. Thank you.
Oh, I heard, I don't know about you, but I heard a bumper sticker that we need to make. Rematriation is an old rhythm. Yeah, and that's got some fine word music in it. I know one of the things that really, one of the many things that really drew us to your work is your is your ear, your poetic ear. And it was so delightful to hear you read "He Who Lit the Antlers Ablaze." I mean, are you kidding me? You get a title like that? Yeah, right there. You know, done, boom, stamp, acceptance. Yeah. And then it just goes on and continues to sing and dazzle. Yeah, thank you so much. I was what a beautiful combination of poets that we have to celebrate our Earth and Poetry Month here. Listen, I need to tell you about Andy Gottlieb now. He's the fella on your screen that is doing his Princess Leia impersonation. Wave, Andy, wave. There, we have a couple of Princess Leias. He's the one with the pale blue. Okay, he might know the other Princess Leia. I'm not sure. Oh, terrain.org shirt. Whoa, flash, flash. Okay, thank you, sir. Listen, you got actually that there's a broadside of his poem underneath that fish back there. It's that Everglades poem. If you really want the bio on this guy, what I want you to do later is go find the song Good Man by Josh Ritter. And you listen to that song and you'll know a little bit about Andrew Gottlieb. What else can I tell you? Gosh, he's just he's a sweet fella. I don't have his book here to show you, Tales of a Distance, because it's at the college. Oh, there it is, right there. It's at the college where we've been reading it with my students. And oh my gosh, they have so enjoyed this book. And he came by this past week and visited my class. And the greatest moment was when class ended and then suddenly like 4 or 5 students came spilling back into the room and said, "Hey, would you sign our books, Mr. Gottlieb?" And, oh gosh, it was fantastic. But yeah, Tales of a Distance is, I've read it 3 times now. And like Kamella's work, it really yields new rewards after each reading. Andy did want me to tell you too that he is one of the contributors to Cascadia Field Guide as well. So I think he's beaming in from Irvine, California this morning. Would you please help me welcome tonight Andrew Gottlieb?
Derek, thank you so much. Can everyone hear me okay? I think thumbs up, right? Yes, I have my terrain.org t-shirt on. Simmons, thank you. Happy 25th anniversary. You're a wonderful editor-in-chief and do amazing work. Derek, you're too generous, but I was just wondering, you've only read the book 3 times? Did you stop? No, I'm kidding. You're a wonderful friend. This audience is amazing, and I see so many incredible people who are my mentors and heroes and heroines and incredible people and writers. This feels like such a special group. If I start listing names, I will go on too long. Kamella, thank you for your amazing work. I'm so glad to know you, and I look forward to all your future work. I see a couple special people. Susan Taylor, I see you, and hello, and it's great to see you. One of my oldest friends, Nick, is on here. Nick, I see you, and we met in 1984, I think. So we're at about the 40-year mark, and thank you for calling in tonight. Irvine is Orange County was originally the home of the Gabrielino Indians and the Juaneño tribe. And that's important for us to call out here. And I'm just going to read about 3 to 4 poems, and then I will help us shepherd in our headliner tonight. I'm going to keep my eye on time. I thought as we're heading into spring, and depending on where you are, we've had long winters. I write a lot about the natural landscape, and I might take us from winter to spring to summer, and maybe a little bit geographically too. We'll head towards some warm terrain. So I'm going to start with one of the first poems in the book. It's from Alaska, and it's set in winter, and it's called Winter in Denali. And the epigraph is a Jim Harrison line from his first book, and it's just, "Form is the woods. Coats thicken, shaggy on caribou and moose. Birch and aspen shed theirs. Alaska holds still its riches, the earth tightening its grip. Storms spread stories, snow softening the edges of everything, hemming spruce and alder, drifting into slope after slope. The unseen curls warmly in sleep, breathing slowly in secret dens. The unseen leaves a ledger, cuneiform grammar trailing its language across snowed-over taiga. The cold smells of patience. What seems like little is only a particular slowness. Time is not light, but layers. Your hunger is not this hunger. Dormant, then warm, then dormant, a lichen may thrive 1,000 years. Great. And so, yeah, that is winter. And boy, we had a lot of it. For this next poem, this is a shorter poem. I think we'll travel down to Washington State, the Snoqualmie River. This is set at the Snoqualmie, and in the month of March, really. It's called March in Snoqualmie. And we're starting to head towards spring. Just before the middle fork, 4 elk trot across the single path gravel. Unmapped road, winter's shruggy humps and shaggy coats in passing. Ample shudder, last antler, muscled neck of the cold's steamy nose. Memory of snow before the overflowing banks of the swelling spring. Ah, yes, in spring, we are coming to spring. I'm gonna hop to a sort of a springish poem. This came really from down here, and I guess it's set in spring or early summer. This is a little bit about us and nature, and maybe our confrontation with nature a little bit. And it's called Open Throats. I can hear them, those crows, a sunrise cluster punctuating the old black oak. Like the coyote last night, a hummock-strung howl, low, solitary, that comes only when dark has disguised the sloping shoulders of the foothills. What urges me out there? Emigrant hermit, naked witness to fur and feathers at the hem of the half-day, to open throats, preaching place and a brazen intention. The red-tailed rips the rabbit, pinned with slow black talons. Clots of wet fur roll down the dusty runlet. There is this violence in every light, these voices at the window, crying, "See what I've done," crying, "Run." And let's see, I think I'll hop right into summer. Let's read one more poem. And we've come further south again. I may be a little bit north from where I am, but in the Sierras, summertime. And this poem is filled with water and is called Ode to Smith Meadow. I miss Fish Creek, meadow stream, waist thin, bent again under shaggy banks, slanting grass, hanging weed and alpine flower, swale-placed stream with a headwater chill, chiseled pasture channel, canyon bound, downward tending, slope only slight at Sierra Heights, angling as gravity asks, pooled in places sheltering trout, showy goldens, fingerlings, larger fish, elders that winter over, lingering invisible, then leaving rings, rippled, dimples, sipping surface bugs under, midges, nymphs, close to the wing, hatches of rapid miniatures, filling the low sky, cattle high, drifting pollen-like over the scene, Fish Creek, Smith Meadow, acrobatic swallows, the herd slumbering, what sways in me in that place, all of us grazing the gift of the recumbent day. Thank you so much.
Wow. There's a lot of lines getting thrown out here, Andy. One of them was the one I heard too. What sways in me in that place, and angling as gravity asks. Hatches of rapid miniature, showy goldens, meadow stream, waist thin, some more gorgeous word music. And that poem, that ode to Smith Meadow, I know you can't see it, but my students really liked how it was skinny on the page too, like the creek. So thank you so much, Andy. It was too short, but we will remember that for you next time, that we're going to give you a minimum instead of a maximum. Okay, just keep that in mind. Listen, Pattiann, yeah, Cynthia Neely agrees. Too short, too modest. Pattiann Rogers. Wow. We have almost 100 people here tonight, and I'm so glad to see such a robust audience. And then, of course, we're recording this, so I'm happy about that as a potential resource for my future classes. I have some visual aids here as we go by, as I talk about Pattiann Rogers. Some of her books are going to go by on the screen, and you can kind of get a sense for how long I have been in love with Pattiann Rogers' poetry here. My house might actually rival the Sowell collection for some of for the archives of her work. She has been an influence on so many of us. I met her back in 1995 when I went to the Yellow Bay Research Station at Flathead Lake to work with her. And two of my fellow students were Janice Ray and Joel Long, a couple of terrific poets and writers. You might know Janice's book, Ecology of a Cracker Childhood. We all went skinny dipping after the workshop, but that's another story for another time. And Annick Smith's son, Alex, was there, as I recall. Bill McKibben was there. William Kittredge was there. McKibben's book, The End of Nature, had just been out a few years. But as I said, we were there for Pattiann. I think she's the only person who, the only poet, as I recall, who has won the John Burroughs medal, Lifetime Medal Achievement. If I'm wrong, let's just say it's the case. I think I'm right, though. We have some other terrific listeners and writers here tonight I want to call out. Robert Michael Pyle, Allison Hawthorne Deming, Pam Houston, Bill Wenthe, and others who know very well what that John Burroughs Medal means. I don't know, I think maybe you all have won one or two as well, but to have a poet be awarded that was pretty special. I want to say, just share a little bit. Dennis Held reviewed Pattiann's a previous collection of Pattiann. Her new one is Flickering right here, that just was published a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago. But just listen to the first paragraph of Dennis's review here. He says, the poetry of Pattiann Rogers lives in a universe unto itself, a whirling, near bursting physical location only partially contained by the ecstatic language that defines and clarifies this Holy Heathen Rhapsody, her 15th book at that time. The poems are filled with a feisty spirit and are anything but grave, yet they arrive in the ear with a certainty, a sense of purpose, an eloquence born of soulful deliberation. Don't tell her, but I mean, I in addition to loving her poems, of course, I've had a crush on her and Jane Goodall all this time. But don't say anything. Listen, she's one of the greats. We're so honored to have you here with us tonight, Pattiann. Please help me welcome her tonight. Okay. And
Pattiann, you will need to unmute.
and
my assistant has been with me for
we can hear you.
62 years.
We can hear you.
Okay. All right. And you did the right thing, unmute.
Yeah.
Unmute. Okay. Well, that's where is this wonderful Dennis?
He's in Spokane. He's in Spokane, and he wanted me to send you this hug right here. Oh,
Oh, how wonderful. I'm surrounded with wonderful people here, loving and kissing. And okay, well, let's continue with this. You know, I didn't know what to focus on exactly and I appreciate your invitation to come here and give a reading and at this special day, and being around people who have all the same loves that we have together. And I do want to thank you for your work all the time. Everything that you've achieved is just remarkable. And so I had a hard time trying to figure out what poems to get in 15 minutes. That's the other thing. Anyway, I tried, but then when I got here, Simmons said I could read as long as I wanted to. So I don't know. Anyway, so what I thought I would start out with is just an older poem. It's not in my new book, but it's one that you know, I read a lot, and probably some of you people in the audience have heard me read this poem. But I think you know, to describe something you love, it's a challenge to get a perspective, a different perspective on it, and see what happens when you try it. And so I will read this, and I know some of you have heard it before. I hope you don't mind hearing it again, and I hope those of you who are hearing it first will enjoy it. The title is In Addition to Faith, Hope, and Charity. I'm sure there's a God in favor of drums. Consider their pervasiveness. the thump, thump, and slide of waves on a stretched hide of beach, the rising beat and slap of their crests against shore baffles, the rapping of otters cracking mollusks with stones, woodpeckers beak banging, the beaver's whack of his tail paddle, the ape playing the bam of his own chest, the million tickering rolls of rain off the flat leaves and razor rims of the forest. And we know the noise of our own inventions, snare and kettle, bongo, conga, big bass, toy tin, timbrels, tambourine, tom-tom. But the heart must be the most pervasive drum of all. Imagine hearing all together every tinny snare of every heartbeat in every jumping mouse and harvest mouse, sagebrush vole and least shrew living across the prairie, and add to that cacophony the individual staccato tickings inside all gnat catchers, kingbirds, kestrels, rock doves, pine warblers, crisscrossing each other in the sky. The sound of their beatings overlapping with the singular hammerings of the hearts of cougar, coyote, weasel, badger, pronghorn, the ponderous bass of the black bear, and on deserts too, all the knackings, the flutterings inside wart snakes, whiptails, racers, and sidewinders, earless lizards, cactus owls, plus the clamors undersea, slow booming in the breasts of beluga and bowhead, uniform wrappings in a passing school of cod or bib, the thitterings of bat rays and needlefish. Imagine the earth carrying this continuous din, this multifarious festival of pulsing thuds, stutters, and drummings, wheeling on and on across the universe. This must be proof of a power existing somewhere, definitely in favor of such a racket. Did you see that and hear it? I think I read that a little better 10 years ago, but anyway, I got through it. I think I'm going to read the poem that follows that, just because it's here and I like it, and I hope you'll like it, and I hope you'll laugh at the end. Anyway, it's totally about the earth. These were things I was searching for. And the title of it is Geocentric. And you had my book and the picture of the earth taken from the moon there. That's the cover of the book. And this is the same name of the poem. But there it is. There's our earth and our moon. Okay. Indecent, self-soiled, bilious reek of turnip and toadstool decay, dribbling the black oil of wilted succulents, the brown fester of rotting orchids, in plain view that stain of stinkhorn down your front, that leaking roil of bracket fungi down your back, you purple-haired, grainy fuzzed smolder of refuse, fathering fumes and boils and powdery mildews, enduring the constant interruptions of sink mire flatulence, contagious with earwax, corn smut, blister rust, backwash and graveyard debris, rich with manure bog and dry rot, harboring not only egg-addled garbage and wrinkled lip of orange peel mold, but also the clotted breath of overripe radish and burnt leek, bearing every dank, malodorous rut and scarp, all sulphur fissures, fetid hillsides, seepages, old, dependable, engendering forever the stench and stretch and warm seethe of inevitable putrefaction. Nobody loves you as I do. Okay. You know, that's been, you know what a woman in London wrote and said that she was she had been chosen to write a choral song for spring, and she wanted to put this poem into a choral for their spring festival. And I thought, well, I can try everything, but anyway, and she sent us a recording of the singing. Well, you know, chorals sing and, you know, they're singing and then the next group sings over them and everything. So you couldn't, nobody knew what the words were. But anyway, it was a compliment. So anyway, I just thought I would start with those two because I saw some of you people that I knew. I don't know where Bob Pyle is. I guess he's closed up.
He's here, Pattiann. He just chimed in. He said, "Sinkmeyer flatulence, one of my favorite phrases of yours ever."
See, I knew he was going to be around here for that because we had you know, Bob, you might remember you said something about we had seen two. It wasn't butterflies, but it was something together up in the sky, flying, but you know, locked together. And you said I'd said a word that I hadn't said about that. And he said, yes. Bob kept saying I had said it. So I guess I had to agree to it because nobody else was interested in our conversation anyway. So,
well, he is writing fiction these days. So I think I might believe you, Pattiann.
oh, is that right? Well, fiction. Yeah, well, that's cool. Oh, well. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this book, and I'll try to make it short because this book is just released last Tuesday, and the publishers were Random House, Penguin Random House, and I wanted to also thank the editor who this is not a typical poetry book. It has lots and lots of poems, but other things too that you don't always see in a book of poetry. And that is that I have a essay in here. My son, who is a professor at Northwestern University, and people I know that I've seen in the audience understand my effort to get poetry and science helping each other rather than being us wanting to be on their own, because it helps. And besides that, we live with these things that science has given us, a bigger vocabulary. You know what scientists have given us. And my son was working with I don't want to somebody wrote me, one of the people who did an interview with me, and she'd been a student of mine at University of Arkansas, and she said, all these years I've been hearing about Pattiann Rogers' son. I thought, I don't think I talk that much about my son, but mothers get that way. So anyway, he is working now with human brains, and taking microscopic pictures of, guess what? Flickering on every, and this is the thing that just, I didn't know this when I picked this title, that every healthy human and other creatures have flickering on their brains. Electronic flickering on their brains. Every living thing. Think about that. Well, I knew, and Bob knew, because we talked about the family is all there is, how bound we are with every living creature on the earth. And this flickering just, I thought, what? I didn't know that. And yet that now to me is a miraculous thing. And so anyway, I asked my son if he would write a small set. I have sections also in my book, and would he write a section about his work? And he had a photographic things he could use, but not. It had to be black and white, because my editor, which I was going to compliment, just did about, he was so wonderfully letting me do some of the things that, like having an essay by a scientist in the book. It's in the book. And he gave us 3 pages. He got 3 pages more to the book. He had to get okay to do that. And so in the back of the book is my son's essay, which is Essential Electrical Flickering and the Brain. And but in black and white are the photographs, that these microscopic photographs that they take of that activity of flickering in the brain. And they can use this to aid in healing an injured brain or an epileptic brain. They have ways now they've developed to cure those. Okay, that's all enough. I'm not saying another thing about my son. So anyway, I didn't know exactly what. And also, I was asked to write an introduction to this book, and I never had done that before. And since flickering is the title, and I had just put it on there to have a title, I got to looking at it, and it's really a wonderful word. And you know what? And I have gonna write some more, because here's my question. Everybody loves to see flickering. You get up in the morning and you see dew flickering on the flowers, or you go to the lake and it's light flickering on the lake, and why? And I didn't know that. Why is that? Why do we like flickering in our holiday? Our holiday things are all flickering. And why do we get sequins and sew them onto dresses so that your body flickers and can be seen flickering? I mean, why is that? I mean, if you don't like flickering, send me a letter and tell me about it. Maybe I can. But most people think it's beautiful. Stars flicker, you know. So anyway, I'm gonna explore that. All right. So I thought I'm not going to read. I know I'm going over 15 minutes. I think I have six. I think I have 6 sections. I forgot. Do you know I have about 500 poems, and anyway. I think I'll read now. This one I'm going to read you the title just because it's too long to read. But the title is Coyotes, Chicken Hens, and Spring Peepers. Does that make you curious? Curious enough to buy the book? Okay. And then I had the second, in the second section, which is called The Best of Bones. All the poems are about bones, and it's about the best of bones. And the reason I wrote it is that I was in the clinic getting an x-ray, and I walked into the office to get an x-ray, and there was a little skeleton hanging there, false skeleton. And I said, why do you have a skeleton hanging up? It isn't Halloween. And she said, oh, I love bones. So I thought, somebody is here who loves bones. And so I thought, I'm going to see if there's anything that you can love about bones. So, and I found some. So I'm not going to tell you what they all are. I'll let you be surprised. So anyway, I'm going to read just, these are short poems. I forgot what the one was. Let's see. Nobody's going to help me. I don't remember what it was. Okay, let's see. Best of bones. Well, oh, okay. There they are. And I learned something from this poem. And that's what I like best. Finding out something I had never thought of before. I had never thought of it before. And I may ask you to raise your hand when I get through, if you never had thought of that before. Maybe everybody in the audience has. It's called, this is called Remember. Alone or not, you yourself sleep with a skeleton every night, and you carry each other throughout every day. Bones remain, fossilized stone, neither body nor soul, though they once were the keepers of both. Why a pity? Why a promise? Did you ever think of that? Because everybody's always scared of skeletons. And you sleep with one every night. Did you ever think of that way? You did? No. Okay. Then another very short one is this right here in my Best of Bones section. And this is true. Once, as a child playing in our attic, I found a small ceramic box forgotten in the dark corner of a desk drawer. I unlatched the lid, carefully lifted the white tissue inside to reveal the complete skeleton of a small seahorse lying as if sleeping on a bed of cotton. It was more beautiful, more finely intricate than any ornament of lace, more entrancing than any diamond or ruby rock could be. So far from the sea, I looked a long time, didn't touch, left it as it had been, closed the lid, whispered a word, lay the tiny casket away in the dark desk, shut the drawer to light, still hearing the cresting sea, still feeling the swell of its current. So those are two small poems of my best of bones. And I did learn other things too. So you may have a surprise. Is anybody keeping who's keeping counting as a? Okay. Anyway, let me read this one. You know, I haven't read publicly very much, and it's nice to have all the pictures of people here. All right, this is called The Knocking. Sometimes it's like a ticking, like the ticking metal makes as it cools, or the random clicking the rafters make as the house shifts in the wind. The same insistence is always present, whether its sound is sharp like a metal ring rapping at the window, or like one loose shingle flapping directly overhead. It can clatter rapidly like teeth chattering from cold, like bones tossed for a prophecy, the stones rolled by a current rattling together unseen over the river bottom. It passes as if to reconsider, then resumes like the tapping of an old man's foot as he rocks through a summer dusk, sporadic as the hammering of a woodpecker in a hardwood forest, first fall, far then near. It is reverberant in the talking sounds of hail striking rocky ground, the same sound heard in the ritual languages of high mountain peoples. It maintains a constancy like the clacking wheels of a train on the tracks passing through the countryside, or like the rhythmic catching of wheels in a clock passing through time as if it were a landscape. Something abroad is knocking, something pervasive, resolved, unknown, seeks entrance. Imagine unlatching the gate. Envision what may pass through among us. Pretend to answer. You know, I thought that is if I was still teaching, that would be a good, give them a good suggestion on a next poem, like because I didn't say do answer. I said pretend to answer, because that I think would start your imagination. Could pretend, what is this knocking that's always out there, wanting entrance? Let it in and see, pretend. And then it would be fun to have a workshop, bring in their answer, bring in what they pretended to answer, how they pretended to answer, whether they pretended to answer. So that's fun. Okay, now that's it. Anybody have a choice of a poem they want me to read?
Well, you know, there's so many classics. I'm so glad that you read Geocentric. I teach it about every quarter. You know, I think some of the ones that I and others have so long admired are For the Wren Trapped in the Cathedral,
Oh, yeah.
Rolling Naked in the Morning Dew.
Yes.
You throw that title out on social media and it goes viral, I can tell you. That's why we got almost 100 people here tonight. I think that Rolling Naked and Dream of the Marsh Wren. Listen,
Yeah.
making love to the gods, the family is all there is. What you did the right thing, because Debbie Hall says that, yes, I am curious enough to buy the book. So yeah. Um,
Good.
thank you, Debbie. Oh, Simmons Button says finding the cat in a spring field at midnight.
Yes, I have it. You know what? I was going to write, I couldn't work it in to 15 minutes. What'd you guys say that for when you didn't keep it to us, and I'm here watching the clock and everything? Let's see. Yeah, it was actually the first thing I had there, because I'll tell them. You want me to tell them the story first?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was getting ready to think. See, this sounds so crazy. I have archives of all my papers, everything that they would buy. Anyway, so I was laying all the things out that I had there, and at the same, and I had every journal that I'd ever had a poem in too, which, I mean, it was ridiculous. We couldn't even get in the basement. So, so I had not sent out every poem that I wrote either. I mean, we had a big trunk full of poems that were there. Anyway, I had never thought of finding the cat in the spring field at midnight that anybody would like it. So I thought I had it. I just had it. It's been laying there, and nobody's petted its cheek. Pet its cheek, like, okay. Anyway, so just at the same time we were doing this, I got a note from Simmons Bunton, and he said, you know, what book is Finding the Cat in the Springfield at Midnight? What book is that in? We can't find it. But he said he had the poet. No, that had been printed by Poetry, I think. It had been taken by Poetry, but it wasn't in any of my books. I didn't think it was important enough. So he said his students, they were talking about this poem. And so I thought, oh, that must be a good poem. And so I put it in one of my books. Wait a minute, which one is it? It's Quickening Fields. Yeah. I didn't get in a book until 2017. I think that's right. Okay. So do you want to hear the poem? Has anybody
do.
ever tried to do that? Tried to find a cat in the field at midnight? Okay. No, I don't think so. 21. See, I'm having fun because it's so wonderful to read to somebody who wants to listen. It's not long. It's not a sonnet length, but it's not a long book. Okay, but you have to listen to every word. When you got a short poem, you have to remember every word. It takes a peculiar vision to be able to detect precisely where the field grasses brushed by blowing stars and the odor of spring in the breath of sweet clover buds and the star-mingled calls of the toads in the threading grasses and the pause of the clover brushing through the field of stars and the star-shaped crickets in the ears of the sweet grasses and the tail of the night flicking through the calls of the clover and the spring stars sleeking past the eyes of midnight and the hour of the field mouse passing through the claws of the stars and the brushing haunches of the weeds and starry grasses threading through the eyes of the mouse and the buds of the stars calling with the sweet breath of the field end and the cat begins. What they talk about, your students, Simmons, you remember?
Well, they just love it, right? Because you don't know where it's going, and it's this continuous and then this sudden shift. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's fun to do. So anyway,
Thank you for that.
yeah. Well, I got it done, but it's been a few years. 17 to 6 years? No, because this is 20. Yeah, I think this in Quickening Fields was published in 2017.
Yeah.
And it's been a while. It's been a while, but
6 years.
yeah. Okay. Well, and I see Bob. Is that you, Bob? No, you look like Bob. Just exactly. Alan Braden. He waved, but it's not Bob. Okay.
Alan Braden is wants to be like Bob when he grows up. He was one of our longtime poetry editors at terrain.org, and I know what a fan he is of you. I don't know if you know this, but we're going to have to end here in a couple minutes. But I just want you to tell you, Pattiann, I think that there are a lot of people here tonight who really love your poems, and I think a lot of them too really love you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was watching some expressions while you were reading and reading through some of this chat dialogue, and I don't know if the screen really can hold all this love. Look at all these hearts popping up here.
Oh well, it's so nice. It's the one most wonderful gift you can give, I think, to anybody.
There's a lot to do about merging consilience and blending science and poetry, but and if you don't know, many years before the Wick Poetry Center printed that T-shirt that says poetry and science are not they're allies, not opposites.
Yeah.
I mean, decades before that, Pattiann was doing it, and better than anybody else. You're special. You're a treasure. We adore you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight,
Yeah.
Pattiann and Andy and Kamella.
Yes, I wanted to compliment their work too. So,
Yeah. Um, well, let's see. Oh, there are just a couple little tidbits here. Bob Pyle, oh, Juniper Moon will always love her. Bob Pyle, you're one of the masters of the last line, Pattiann. That was the book, Quickening Fields, that occasioned the Burroughs Medal.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Pattiann, didn't have a camera on the computer, but it's okay. Alan Braden will do. So good to see you and especially hear you again. Andy
Yeah.
Gottlieb, one of your, Diane Warner here is tonight from the Sal collection. I
Yeah.
want to tell you too, everybody, you need to go down to the Sal collection at Texas Tech when you get a chance. And it's marvelous fun to snoop through Pattiann's old correspondence. I have done it, and I highly recommend the experience. There's a lot of it there. But one of your fellow poets, Andy Gottlieb, has a question. How or in what ways does poetry writing continue to surprise and teach you? Do you have suggestions for ways writers can continue to learn as we write to make sure the surprise doesn't stop?
Yeah. Well, of course, all that is you're working with words, but to try to express how it happens, you can't say it in words, and sometimes it doesn't happen. But what I have come to feel is my way, and it doesn't mean it will be anybody else's way, is that poetry is more of a song than it is prose. And so if you can get a cadence going and it is in tune with what you're wanting to explore, you will know if it bumps, you have gotten off that cadence, and the music has, made you make a mistake because you got out of the rhythm of the poem, and all the crafts of poetry, the words that sound like each other, and but they're not at the end of the line. They don't always go at the end of the break line, but are within the body of the poem, and they work in they help you too, because you've got that kind of melody going, and so you can't hold the reins too tight on the language, and of course it doesn't always work. I had a big we did a lot of shredding of drafts too, and this, you don't get old, you don't get better, I don't think, the older you get, but it's still, you have pleasure I do anyway, still have pleasure trying to get something just right. And also the ending too, you have to, and I did discover, and I think I know Allison is there with us in Orion things. I don't think is she still here? I don't think she's still here.
He's here.
Oh.
Say hi, Allison. Unmute and say hi.
Hi, Pattiann. It's great to see you. It's so wonderful to hear you again.
Well, I know, and it's just we all lost a lot. Well, we gained so much with those. We traveled with the Orion Society, and it was really a gift of several months. And we went to different parts of the country, poets, and talked to students in classrooms, and went on hikes with them, and most of the places we stopped, they were working on some kind of an environmental project, and we got to hear them talk about it. And we were all together, and it was horrible when it was over, because we got to be such good friends, but we only saw each other, typically anyway, on those trips. So we got separated. But you know, you just have to keep going anyway, I guess, because it's something that you love to do, and for me anyway, and it's been very rewarding to me, not in money of any kind, but of just the pleasure of it, of seeing something coming together and seeing others like it. Because in one of my interviews that come with this, I tell you, I am almost falling on the floor every morning from. I have been so busy with this book, and my poor husband has been having to do all the everything. I said to, and it's true, I couldn't have come here. I didn't go anywhere. That's the thing. That's what I don't understand. But anyway, he does a lot of things for me, and he has a basement he has an office basement. His office is in the basement. Mine is on the second floor. And I go in there, and I'm there about 30 minutes. And I said, "Hun, come up. The computer did something, and I don't know what it did, and I lost my poem or something." So he's up and down the steps fixing my problems with the computer. I never.
Your editor at Penguin is very helpful.
Yeah, I did. I told him that. See, I'll tell you this. I know I'm going to stop talking. You guys go. I have 5 books published by Penguin, and then Penguin became Penguin Random House. And Paul Slovak has been my editor all the way through those 5 books. And he was just wonderful with this book, because you know what I did? I want to tell you what I did, because this was fun, and you could probably do it too. But I wanted to have some sign of poetry in some way, in a subtle way, beside or within my son's essay. And so I thought, well, how am I going to do that? I mean, how will we do that? And because I didn't want it to be too obvious. And so I got to thinking of those 4 other books published by no, not Milkweed. No, the Penguin.
Oh yeah, Penguin.
And with Paul, that I could take, if I could go through those books and find the word flickering in other poems I'd written. They were my poems, but they were in other books, and I could take it out a couple of lines like a haiku, and I could if it had flickering in it, and there would be no problem with copyright or anything, because the books were mine. They were published by the same publisher, and we could put them in little places around in the book. And I thought, oh, he's never going to let us do that. And he said, okay. And I did about 10 little haiku poems that were lines lifted out of other poems, and in those books. those other 4 books, and I gave them to my son, and I said, why don't you see, he had 3 images, and I said, why don't you do your text about that image, and then we'll put a little haiku that has flickering in it. And he's okay with that. So he picked out 3 little haikus. I'll read one of them to you. Oh yeah, these I love doing this. It's so much fun. Here's one. The flickering to make visible the art of light in motion on dew-covered vines of morning glories. Do you like that? And then Paul was so good. He gave me 2 pages for notes and all those little haiku poems that I had not gotten used anywhere else. So I have a page of those. I have 4 left. Anyway, so my husband was whispering, tell him how good Paul was, because he was so good, and and patient, kind of. He got irritated once, I think, but I can't remember what this was.
Don't say anything more than that, because we're recording, and we just leave it on that. Paul, I love Paul Slovak's editing. That's Allison Hawthorne Deming and Terrence
Pattiann
Rogers and Robert Wrigley.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And Pattiann, Diane was reminding me that in addition to snooping in the correspondence like I was doing, that as you referenced the drafts that you go through in your process, and that is another reason to visit the Sow collection down at Texas Tech, is to see those drafts. And I mean, maybe Simmons, you and I need to take a trip down there and see if we can find some drafts of that Finding the Cat poem. Finding the Cat in a Springfield at Midnight. How does that sound, Simmons?
I think that poem was divine inspiration. There might not be any drafts on it. Otherwise, it sounds great.
Yeah. I was going. I was starting to tell you that this woman. That the same woman that interviewed me, that I was going to tell you about. That she said that the Japanese of another age generation had something just like those haikus in the middle of prose, just the same way. And I thought, but she left it out of the interview that she had run across that already. See, and it was, I thought, I wasn't first, but I was second thinking of doing something like that. But
But don't forget the Audible version.
Oh yeah, this I never had anything like putting this book together with any of my other books, and they were doing everything, and I've gotten so tired of doing interviews and anyway. What was it you were going to? What?
Your Audible.
Oh yeah. So they said I got an email from somebody else. I didn't know any of these people. All I knew was the first name of who I was talking to, and never met them. Anyway, they sent an email and they said, "Would you do the narration of the book? We're inviting you to do the in the narration of the book." And I thought, wait a minute, narration of the book. and how do I do that? And anyway, they said they'd pay me something, and I said, okay, I'll do that. So, and then I worried about it forever till I thought I'd never be able to go, do the narration of the same full book and everything. Well, it worked out fine. They had a place there that in Denver, just outside Denver, that did recordings like that for people, musicians mainly, but they had a whole big setup and everything. And I went in there, and the person I worked with she had a photograph up, and was talking to me, but I never saw her. I don't know. Tavia is her name, but I don't know her last name either. I don't think. Anyway, and see this orange, because apple juice is I thought I'll never get through this. My throat will go hoarse and all. Well, it didn't. It went very well, and the people there were so nice. And one of them brought me a cup of tea with herbs in it, and so I felt like, what'd you call me? For what was I going to be in this a gathering we're having here? Anyway, I felt like Queen of the Day.
Yeah, I think Queen of the Day is a great note to end on, Pattiann. Thank you so much for being here with us, and Andy Gottlieb and Kamella Cruz. Yeah, Queen of the Day. I'm seeing the hands going. I'm seeing the smiles. It's just been this has been a beautiful evening.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And it sounds like you'll be able to find Pattiann's audiobook, I'm guessing, of maybe Flickering or one of her books we can search for.
Oh yeah. I saw on Amazon before the book had come out, and they said if you bought the book, you got the narration audible free.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that went through or not. But
well, there's only one way to find out. Everybody go out and buy a copy of Flickering and see if the audible comes in. We'll do an experiment. We'll do a mass experiment, Pattiann.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to charge me for all the money if it's not true.
No. No charging here. Only love tonight.
Love, that's true.
We love that you love making these poems, and we're grateful. And again, Kamella and Andy, I think this is the time for us to sign off. So let's do that. Let's do that now. And here's one last hug for you, Pattiann. Sweet Pattiann, Queen of the Day.
I've got your beard.
Oh, did it tickle?
Sure did.
Thank you all for a really wonderful, delightful evening. Pattiann and Andrew and Kamella, it was so great to hear you and to see you again. Derek, thanks as always for your wonderful hosting.
Yeah.
I hope everyone has a great evening.
Yes, we did. I did. And